This is 5 on your side at 4. Focused on you.
We begin today at 4 with the war in Israel. More than 2 days after Hamas launched its surprise attack, the Israeli military says the fighting within Israel has largely died down. But Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is vowing to lay total siege to the Gaza Strip and destroy the militants' military capabilities. Good evening. Thanks for being here. I'm Kay Quinn. 11 Americans are confirmed killed in the attack, and the White House has started sending military shipments to support Israel. NBC's Jay Gray has the latest.
Unrelenting airstrikes, Israeli ministers ordering a complete siege of the Gaza Strip in the wake of a weekend surprise offensive by Hamas, the deadliest attack on Israel in 50 years.
Hamas is Daesh.
Hamas is ISIS, and we will beat it just like the Western world has beaten ISIS.
A spokesman for the military wing of the Palestinian militant group now issuing this threat. Every hour, Hamas will kill one Israeli hostage for every civilian house bombed without warning. More than 1,200 have died in the fighting, a vast majority of the victims civilians. The State Department confirming Americans are among the casualties, with other U.S. citizens in the region still missing.
There are reports of Americans who are unaccounted for. We continue to work to confirm that number and to try to locate those who are missing.
As the fighting escalates, a U.S. carrier strike group is now moving into the region.
We will continue to get Israel the military aid and military assistance it needs.
Though a full-scale response likely won't come until Congress is back in session and a speaker is elected in the House. The man just voted out of that job, demanding swift action from the White House to protect U.S. citizens caught up in the violence.
This administration must also make clear that harming any American will result in the wrath of the United States.
As thousands of miles away, the fighting intensifies. Jay Gray, NBC News.
Tension over the war is heating up on streets throughout the U.S. Boston is one of many cities to hold rallies in support of Israel. Meanwhile, pro-Palestinian protesters walk the streets in New York and Chicago. The war is sparking the emotions of politicians as well. Our political editor Mark Maxwell has reaction from Missouri's congressional delegation.
Okay, Republican Congresswoman Ann Wagner called the Hamas attacks unprovoked and says Israel, quote, has the absolute right to defend itself. Many Democrats on the Hill have issued similar statements, but Congresswoman Cori Bush drew bipartisan backlash for suggesting a different path and suggesting there was some provocation. In a social media post, Bush referenced Israel's occupation of Palestinian territories in Gaza and the West Bank. Quote, violations of human rights do not justify more violations of human rights, and a military response will only exacerbate the suffering of Palestinians and Israelis alike. Then Bush said this. She called, quote, to stop this violence and trauma by ending U.S. government support for Israeli military occupation and apartheid. State Senator Brian Williams, who represents many of the same voters in the state capitol, reacted to Bush's remarks this morning.
This is not about occupation. This is about the fact that there were families that have lost their lives, children and women that were kidnapped. And our country should be standing in solidarity and doing everything we can. I represent a very large Jewish constituency, and I'll tell you this, my neighbors, my friends, I think we should stand in support of them, and anyone that represents them should do the same.
We took a look at the numbers. Congress did send another $3.8 billion in aid to Israel this year, much of that funding going back to American defense contractors so Israel could buy weapons to defend itself. We offered Congressman Bush's office an interview to clarify her position, whether she wants to just cut funding or condition it on Israel's government's behavior. 2 years ago, a poll of American Jews found 58% would support restricting American aid so Israel cannot spend that money to expand settlements in the West Bank.
All right, thank you, Mark. We've learned that major airlines are suspending flights to Israel. American Airlines, United Airlines, and Delta will not fly in or out of the country. The U.S. State Department issued travel advisories for the region, citing the potential for terrorism and civil unrest. Keep it on 5 on your side and NBC News for the very latest. Coming up at 5:30, Lester Holt will be in Israel for a special edition of NBC Nightly News and bring us up-to-the-minute details on what's happening. Plus, he'll have the latest on American victims. That's at 5:30, after 5 on your side at 5. Sunny, crisp, and cool today. It seems like fall has definitely arrived as we take a look outside. There is a chance for rain this week. Meteorologist Gary Frank here with your Weather First forecast.
Yeah, good afternoon, Kay. And, for the most part, we're going to continue to see pretty calm conditions. It's quiet, it's cooler, it really feels like fall outside. This is about as much cloud cover as we've seen all day long, and I do expect that it will remain on the quiet side as we head into the overnight hours. We started off this morning at 50 in the city, but overall, it was in the low 40s. And I think for the most part, it was a little less cool than it was yesterday. We had 33 yesterday in Salem, so it was a little warmer. We had a wind direction shift. We had a few more clouds, which have since exited, and that's going to set the stage for the rest of the next couple of days as temperatures right now 68 degrees. That's a few degrees below normal, and it's very dry. We have a west-northwest breeze now, but that breeze will transition over the coming days as it remains very quiet. You can see that rain and cloud cover has exited, and we're going to see things the rest of the week pretty quiet. I think overall it's going to warm back up, and that's where those rain chances that you mentioned come back into play before it quickly returns to fall. And yes, we're in that time of the year where it's going to take some sort of wind or warm air push to get us back into the 80s, and it seems like what's what we're going to do. How long we stay there and when that chance of rain is going to impact your plans ahead.
All right, thank you, Gary. Happening today, the Florissant City Council could vote on a measure that would reclassify parkland as residential land. The plan would allow developers to build more than 100 homes on 30 acres of what is now Coke Park. The mayor says the development would add to the tax base and overall park acreage. Under the proposal, McBride, which is Missouri's largest home builder, would have access to an undeveloped portion of Coke Park, and in return, the city would get new parkland adjacent to Sunset Park.
And we're certainly going to try to extend the Great Rivers Greenway, the Sunset Trail, all the way through that area on the river, all the way up into Coke Park, which is important because what that does is that adds the ability to really take our four largest areas, Coke Park, Sunset Park, St. Ferdinand Park, right into Old Town where that trail system go.
The homes would range in size from 12 to 2,500 square feet, priced anywhere from $250,000 to $500,000. The measure is up for the second and final reading tonight. New at 4, a new proposal from General Motors as United Auto Workers continue to strike. Workers have been walking the picket line at the GM plant in Wentzville and other factories. Under the latest offer from GM, most employees would receive a 20% wage increase. A cost of living adjustment would be reinstated, and employees would receive more vacation time, an additional holiday, and even paid parental leave. There's been no response from the union. The strike against all three automakers is currently in its 4th week. The Metro Call-A-Ride service is back up and running. A second cyber attack knocked out phone lines. They've since been restored. Metro is currently taking reservations for tomorrow and Wednesday. Still ahead, see how Hawaii is moving forward weeks after a devastating wildfire. Plus, a new option emerges in the race for president, the major political move made by Robert F. Kennedy Jr.